On this evening, I'd like to begin by asking you to think of a song or to remember a song that no doubt all of us have heard. It's an iconic song. It's from the legendary group The Supremes. On February 8th, 1965, their song Stop in the Name of Love was released. When you think of the Supremes, that's one of the songs that easily comes to mind. It was number one on the Billboard Pop Singles. It did well on the soul charts. It's ranked number 38 on the 100 Greatest Girl Group Songs of All Time. And in the BBC, it's ranked number 56 on the top 100 digital Motown chart songs. Stop in the Name of Love. We remember Diana Ross and the other two Supremes in those tight dresses, shaking their hips with their hands up, singing their song, Stop in the Name of Love. I can relate to that because none of us want to have broken hearts. I want you to think about this Stop in the Name of Love. Keep that in the backdrop of your mind as we talk about some things tonight that will help us to have better outcomes in our lives. You see, many times we do things that anger God. That is, we can act impulsively, we can act reactionary, or emotionally. And we do things and we say things that do not reflect the love of God, our love for Him, our love of serving Him, and our love for others can be hindered when our words, when our actions find us acting and speaking before we should. This brings remorse, it brings regret, and the need for repentance. Why do we get that way? Maybe there's some Peter in us. You all remember Peter? He was an impetuous person, a temperamental person, impulsive. Let me give you 5 scriptures to look at just to consider Peter's persona. You remember in Matthew chapter 14, verse number 28, Jesus was walking on the sea. It was that impetuous Peter who said, Lord, if it's you, bid me to come unto you on the water. Another example is Matthew chapter 16, verse 22. There, Peter rebuked Jesus. As Jesus is preparing for what lies ahead, it was Peter who said, Be it far from thee, Lord, this shall not be unto thee. As if Peter really had some control over the matter. Remember Mark chapter 9 and verse number 5? Sometimes you don't need to say anything, and Peter opened his mouth and said, Lord, it's good for us to be here. Let's build 3 tabernacles, one for you, one for Moses, one for Elias. He's putting Moses and Elias on the same level as Jesus. Here's one of my favorites, was John chapter 13, verses 8 and 9. And Jesus is getting ready to wash the disciples' feet. And you see Peter on 2 extremes. On one hand, Peter says, Lord, you can't wash my feet. No, not me. I can't allow you to do this. And then Jesus responds and makes his case. And Peter goes to the other extreme. He said, well, wash my feet, my hands, and my head. Just that fast, he went from you can't wash my feet to wash my feet, my hands, and my head. Remember Matthew 26, verses 31, and in particular verse 35, but 31 through 35. Peter says, I will not deny you. You know how the story went. These few verses are just a portrait into Peter, and perhaps a portrait into ourselves. That there are times in life where we act, we respond, we're impulsive, we're reactionary, we're emotional. It may be the news we get from the doctor. It may be something upsetting we hear from a coworker. It may be a response to our spouse, a reaction to our children. It may be the emotional impulses we feel when we have to make decisions. The question is, do our actions always reflect that we're doing this in the name of love? Let me give you this acronym, STOP. And I want you to apply this to your life. If you rehearse this, it may help you to make better decisions and have better outcomes. When something happens, you have to be in the habit, number one, of stopping. Breathe. Ask yourself, do I have to act now? Do I have to speak now? Do I have to make this decision now? The Lord expects us to be in control of every aspect of who we are. And while this may not be easy at first, as we rehearse this in our minds and practice this, learning to stop will help us to not speak, act, or decide in ways that don't reflect love toward God. Second, think. Use that time to reason, to use logic, to consider the options, weigh the pros and cons. Everything that can be said does not have to be said. Every emotion does not have to be expressed. Third, observe. Sometimes when you need to make decisions, just observe. Observe why you want to make those decisions. Observe the factors that are in play. And even think about past choices and past outcomes. Look at other people and what decisions they've made and the outcomes they have received. Observation can help you to have fewer regrets, a lot less remorse. And last, proceed with caution. It's okay to make progress, to proceed, but always do so with caution. Obviously, there are times in life where we must act immediately, but most instances are not emergencies and don't require an immediate response. So the next time you have a decision to make, a reaction to give, a question or a statement to be made, stop, think, observe, and proceed with caution. Stop in the name of love, in the name of love for God, and you may make better decisions and have better outcomes. This has been another installment of A Few Minutes with the Minister.